I currently have a pretty average number of physical TBR books, but that doesn't mean some of these books haven't been on the shelf longer than necessary. My mission, now that I have accepted it, is to eliminate the books on this shelf one by one until this shelf is completely Yes?
I know you're about to say something really ambitious, but could you aim for a little less delusion for my sake, please?
I swear, readers these days. We're gonna eliminate the books on the shelf until it is half empty. That's 3 shelves, stop counting. At the beginning of each month's episode, I will use a random number generator to select the book that will be read. The hope is that the first book I pick will be the one to start off that episode. However, I will be allowing myself 2 chances to maneuver around the shelf in the hopes of finding that first book to read. I'm so excited, yeah, that's convincing enough, to get some of these physical books cleared off of this TBR shelf, so get ready to read or reap.
All right, so there are 103 books on this shelf at present. I tried to read a couple and realized really quickly that they weren't worth my time, so I've taken them off my shelf. I will be unhauling them. So we're at 103. Looky there. So close to getting under 100 books on this TBR shelf. However, I don't think that's gonna remain much longer because I am going to a book convention really soon, and I'm sure I'm gonna be buying books to add to this. I'm also gonna go book shopping soon. So I'm afraid I'm gonna add some more books, but let's try, shall we? So let me ask Alexa to pick me a number between 1 and 103 and see what book I'm going to start episode 6 of Read or Reap with. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 103? 42. Okay, let me figure out what book that is. Okay, so this one ended up being a book that I'm curious about. I don't know that I'm in the mood to read it, but I'm curious. And that is Raven of the Inner Palace. I believe this is a light novel, but because I'm not like super thrilled to read this tag does say 4 books next, so I'm going to see what the next option could be. All right, that book ended up being When You Were Mine by Kennedy Ryan, which is a book that I'm ambivalent toward. I don't really know anything about it other than it's Kennedy Ryan. The tag on this one does say the next book, but I think I'm going to start with this one because I know I can get the audio to listen to of this one, which will help me get through it quicker. So I'm hoping that I like this one because it is Kennedy Ryan and I tend to enjoy her books. But yeah, I don't really know what this one is about. This cover isn't really giving me any inclination. I don't think I read the synopsis before I bought this. So who knows? Let's dive into this and see if I like it. You guys, I hate it here. I really fucking do. I made it 78 pages into this book. Oh. And I encountered a trope that just, it gave me a headache. Like I felt it coming. I felt it in my soul. I could see it approaching and I was just like, please don't do this to me. Please don't fucking do this to me. But it did, and that's the cheating trope. If you think the love triangle is my most hated trope, you would be wrong. You need to dig a little deeper, and you would find cheating. But I don't talk about it, and I don't bitch about it a lot because I hardly ever encounter it. Well, looky here. Aren't I the lucky fucking winner? So this is about 2 people. Karis, that's the girl's name. She is about 25. It doesn't fucking matter. She meets this wealthy guy whose name I can't fucking remember. I don't care. He's really wealthy. And they're like volunteering at this hospital for kids or whatnot. And so they end up meeting because they're like interacting with this one child who's like severely sick. I think she has cancer or brain tumor or something like that. I don't know. But Karis here, she is dating his best friend, okay? And this dude, dumbass cheater boy, he's instantly attracted to her. Like, instantly. And he finds out that she's dating his best friend. And do you think this POS, do you think that in his little cheater fucking brain that he would be like, oh wait, you're my best friend's girlfriend? Oh, no. Okay, then no. No. I won't put myself in situations where we're together. I won't put myself in situations where I could potentially risk that friend. Do you think this motherfucker thinks that? Hell to the no. Hell to the no. He just keeps fantasizing about her. He's fucking jealous and wants to rip his best friend's hands off of her anytime he touches her when that's his fucking girlfriend. Okay? And this bitch, do you think in her little tiny cheater brain, do you think she could be like, listen, boyfriend, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I found myself attracted to somebody new and I want to give that a shot. Do you think this bitch would do that? Fuck no. Fuck no. 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 She's attracted to dumbass cheater boy, but she doesn't do anything to end the fucking relationship. And how do I know this? Because this fucking book starts at her and her boyfriend's wedding. Okay? So I know that past 79 pages, they didn't break up. And I don't fucking care how this story plays out, because there are only 3 scenarios in which I can imagine that this story plays out. Okay? Okay? Either 1, the story is going to go along the route of the boyfriend is just like emotionally neglectful, or he's a bad guy, or God forbid, maybe he fucking dies in this story. Okay? And so them cheating is okay in the beginning of their relationship. Fuck that. Or best friend is gonna be forgiving because he's such a great guy, which I'm sorry, dude. You're a fucking saint if that's the case. Or he kicks both of them out of his life, which he should and has every right to do. Those are the 3 scenarios that I see for this stupid storyline, okay? And I don't give a shit to even go on, because I don't want to read about 2 fucking cheaters. I don't. I have zero sympathy for cheaters, okay? In fiction and in real life. I have no sympathy. I don't. Because cheating isn't something that's like, oh, it just happened. I don't know how his tongue got in my mouth and his dick got in my pussy. I don't know. It just happened. No. Cheating is a fucking choice. That's a choice that these 2 stupid characters are making. Because they're too immature to just get out of the fucking relationship. That's all you have to do is end the fucking relationship. Because it's not like she's in an abusive relationship that she can't get out of. No. For all intents and purposes, in 79 pages, her boyfriend seems like a great guy. He's hardworking. He's into her. He's wanted to marry her. So I want to climb into this story. I do. I want to climb in here and I want to tell her boyfriend. I'm going to be like, dude, you deserve better than this bitch. And you deserve better when it comes to best friends other than stupid cheater boy here. Because I'm sorry, I don't know who puts up with this shit in real life, okay? If I had a best friend who was sexually attracted to somebody I was dating, and they didn't tell me, and they were just having lustful thoughts or whatnot, and then they acted on that, I would kick them out of my life so fucking fast. I would. Because I just can't. Because me personally, in all of my damn years of life, of having friends who have had partners, never once have I looked at their partner and been fucking attracted to them to the point where I'm lusting after them and imagining them fucking and kissing and all that. Never once in my damn life. You want to know why? Because I'm not attracted to other people's people. When I find out somebody has somebody, if I even think, oh, they're hot, the minute I find out they have somebody, I'm like, oh, damn. You ain't that hot. No, I don't. No, I don't. I fucking hate that this is the first book in this Reader Reap episode. I literally have a headache. I hate that another first book is shit. And what pisses me off more is this is a Kennedy Ryan book. What the fuck? No. So I have no desire to finish this. I have no desire to continue on with this series because I'm so fucking annoyed. I hate it here. I hate it here. So now, let me just... There's 100 books on this shelf now. I tried to read a couple others, and I DNF'd them real quick, so that's why it went down. So let me ask Alexa to pick me a new book, okay? And let's hope it doesn't suck. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 100? 43. Okay, let's find out what book 43 is, shall we? Sit right here. That's not the best angle, but stay there. 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. Oh, I don't want to read this book. This is a new book. Oh, thank God. Okay, so that ended up being Birding with Benefits, which is a new book on my shelf. And luckily that says 3 books above. I only have 1 shelf above that. How about we go to the 3rd book on the shelf above it? That's gonna be what that is. Okay, this one is When We Were Birds, which quite honestly, I don't fucking remember what this book was about. This tag says read the book below this, but I think I'm gonna try this one because this is one of the books that has been on my shelf the longest. It's been on here probably since like 2022, I think. I literally remember not a damn thing about this. I think it has something to do with reincarnation or hereafter because those are stories I like. I remember where I bought this. I bought it at a Barnes & Noble in Georgia. And it's got a really pretty cover. It's got like a bunch of birds and flowers on it. So I'm going to give this a try. And hopefully it's good. Who are we kidding? I'm going to DNF this too. I tried, you guys. I tried. I honest to God do try. I made it right there. I made it to part 2, which is exactly 103 pages. And this is just so boring. So I thought this had something to do with the afterlife, the hereafter, which is one of my favorite tropes. It says, a mythic love story set in Trinidad, a radiant debut about 2 unforgettable outsiders brought together by their connection with the dead. So I was expecting it to be something about like what happens to us once we... The only thing death in here really is this guy has to take a job at a cemetery, and he's grown up with these morals or this religion, I'm not sure, where he wasn't allowed to see the dead or interact with the dead at all. And so when his mother is on hard times and can't support herself, working at the cemetery is the only job he can find. And when he takes it, his mother just like kicks him out of her life. And then the girl, I don't know her name, her mother has died and she didn't have a very good relationship with her mother, and she's sort of trying to process why she's not grieving the loss of her mother because she didn't love her mother. And they're just living their lives. So I don't know where the mythic love story comes into this. Maybe it comes in later in the book. I don't know. But this was just god-awful boring. And I don't want to push myself to finish this. I'm sorry. I can't do it, you guys. So there are now 96 books on this shelf. I have read a couple, believe it or not. I've actually read and finished a couple books, but I've done that outside this vlog. And a couple more I've tried to read, and I DNF'd those too. So that's why there's 96. So let me ask Alexa to pick me a new number. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 96, please? Why did she do that so fast? Usually she's like, here's what you're looking for. 85. Okay. 85. Oh God, please don't say read this book. Please don't say read this book. Please don't say. Oh, thank God. It was Stick Cage a God, which is a... Listen, the only reason I don't want to read this is because I want to actually finish a book in this vlog, and I've heard not so great things about this book, but it's so pretty. It's so pretty that I'm willing to give it a shot. I just don't want 3 DNFs in a row. So luckily this says first shelf, 4th book. So let me see what that one is. That one is A Rush of Wings by Laura E. Wymoth, which I think is a young adult. I think I started reading this at one time. Yeah, I did. I made it to chapter 2. And I just wasn't in the mood to continue reading it, but I was really interested in the story. I am going to have to start from the beginning again, because I have no clue what the hell happened. But please let me finish this book. Alright, so... Did you DNF a 3rd book in a row, Becky? No, I didn't. Okay, I finished reading this book, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. So this is a story that is set in, like, historic Scotland, and we are following this young woman named Rowena, who is the only daughter in a family. She's got 2 older brothers and a younger brother, and the village in which she lives, the people insists that her mother is a witch, and she is a witch. She has the craft, as they call it, and so she has an affinity with the elements. And Rowena has also developed this craft as well, but as she grows up, she continuously asks her mother to teach her how to wield it, and her mother keeps denying her, saying that until she can control her emotions, because she is a very spirited young woman, that she won't teach her how to use her craft until she learns to control her emotions. Well, eventually Rowena gets tired of asking her mother if she thinks she's ready for this, and she stops asking altogether. And so a time comes when her mother is trying to build these wards around her home because she senses a malevolent spirit coming. And something happens, and Rowena sees her mother die. She sees this malevolent water spirit called a Fua kill her mother, but she can't tell people that she saw this, because then the village will claim that she's a witch. And this is the time when, you know, women were being hanged and burned for witchcraft. And so she just tells the village and her family that she saw her mother drown. And one day, I believe she's like 18 at this point, her mother comes back. But Rowena knows that it's not her mother, because she can see the mirage, the veil that this Fua has taken on as her mother. But everybody else just thinks it's a miracle, you know, she didn't drown, she's alive. And this Fua tells her that she needs to leave her village. And Rowena, being the stubborn girl that she is, she's like, no, I'm not leaving my family. This is my home. And so this Fua curses her brothers to turn into swans. And she tells her that they will turn back into boys at night, but every night they will spend less and less time as boys until they are fully swans. So she sets out on this journey with the help of her brothers in their swan form and this young man that she saved from drowning to Inverness, where she is looking for a fellow witch who could teach her how to wield her craft and how to break the curse on her brothers. But her time is limited to find this out. And it just might be me that I'm biased, and I like books that are set in Scotland. I like anything with folklore in it, and I like books about families. So it could just be me being biased, but I gave this 5 stars. I really liked it. I liked that this introduced me to a folklore creature that I hadn't heard about before, and I've read a lot of like Gaelic and Celtic mythology and stuff like that, but this was a new one to me, so I actually had to like Google what a Fua was and learn how to pronounce it and all that jazz. And I love when a book makes me do that. I really liked the familial connections between Rowena and her brothers and this young man who she rescues. And it's really just a story about family love and the sacrifices people are willing to make within their families. And I loved the Scotland setting. I loved the slight magical realism with the elemental magic that is in here as well. This does have, I wouldn't say super dark elements to it, but there is like animal cruelty in here. They do have to sacrifice some animals for the sake of their craft. There's also a man she meets in here who wants to use Rowena for her craft, and so he's telling her that she needs to kill certain things. So you do see a lot of animal death within this story. But I really enjoyed my time with it. I got through it really quickly. And when I mentioned that I had started reading this book like a year ago and I only got like the first chapter in and I like put it up because I wasn't in the mood, that's a rarity for me because I don't often like soft DNF things. Usually when I DNF a book, I know I'm never going to return to it. But I had a feeling that this would be a book that I liked if I was in the mood to read it. So I'm really glad that I didn't like totally DNF this and just throw it away and be like, oh, I'll never go back to that, because this was a really sweet book. It had a lot of great messages about family and accepting yourself and the sacrifices you're willing to make and how all of us have a little bit of darkness and lightness in us and things like that. And this is just a really pretty book. As you can see, like here, her eyes are closed. And then if I take off the dust jacket, her eyes are open. And these are her 3 brothers, and the young man that she ends up saving gets cursed into a swan as well. So that was just a really pretty book that I found in the young adult section like 2 years ago. I saw the spine of it and was curious about it. So I'm really glad that I ended up liking this one. This has absolutely no spice to it at all. It isn't very much a romance book at all either. It focuses more on familial bonds. So I really enjoyed this. Now, I'm not going to start a book now, but I am going to pick my next book because I have a couple hours until I have to catch the Uber to the train station because I am on my way to DC today for the Imaginarium Book Fest this weekend. And I just don't see myself reading anything in the next 4 days. I am going to listen to an audiobook on the train ride, but like aside from that, I know I'm not going to read anything because I'm going to be spending time with my friend Suleika, and then we're going to be spending time at the book festival and things like that. There are now 95 books on this shelf, so let me ask Alexa to pick me a new book. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 95? 88. Okay. This was Cruel is the Light, which is a very chunky freaking book. I don't know what this one is about, honestly. I think this was a fairy loot book that I got. And I wouldn't mind reading this, but I don't really want to read this chunky book, and thankfully this tag says go back 12 books. So let me go back 12 books and see what that book ends up being. This one ended up being romance, and it said read this book, so I am going to give this one a try. It is The Summer I Saved You by Elizabeth O'Rourke. I have never read anything by Elizabeth O'Rourke, so we'll see what this one is about. It's pretty short. I do have 3 books by this author, and I don't know if they're all in the same series or not, or if you can read them as standalones. I'm gonna have to look up like the order. If this is part of this series that I have the other 2 books in, and it isn't the first book, then I will just read the first book in this series. But yeah, I'll tell you what I think about this when I get back and I start reading it. Let's take a room tour. This is our not so fancy hotel room for the night, or for the next few days, not the night. Really small bathroom, shower, toilet, mirror, coat check rack, beds, mirror, TV, another fucking mirror. It's a lot of mirrors. our really fabulous view. Isn't that nice? That's what we got. That's it. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at this view at night. It's so much prettier. Isn't that stunning? I think it's a parking garage, but I could be wrong. Suleika and I said that we have a Hilton taste on a decent budget. This hotel doesn't have a fridge or a microwave, but you want to know what it does have? 3 mirrors and a full-size ironing board. Who needs all that, right? But that's what you get when you sacrifice comfort for price. This is literally the cheapest hotel within walking distance of the venue, so this is what we got. Can't really complain all that much. What else do we need? Oh my god, is there a child crying in the next door? Oh my god. Us big girls are taking the metro by ourselves. We're so proud of ourselves. Yeah. Suleika's the leader because she's done this one other time. We are back from our day of venturing, and we are so proud of ourselves for using the metro. Listen, for somebody who's only used it once, she's a pro. For somebody who's only ever used subways with other people, I was pretty proud of myself. We did go to a couple bookstores, and I share with you all the books I got, because I got bookstore adventure vlogs coming, but what did you get? Share with them what you got.
My God, Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn.
I got the same book. We got that at the romance only bookstore. So
Yeah.
it's got some pretty sprayed edges, which is mainly why I got it.
Me too.
Is that the only book
Me
you
too.
got at the romance bookstore?
No, I also got some like Karina Helly.
Is it an adult? It's gotta be
It's
adult.
oh yeah, it's
I was
adult.
like, it wouldn't be adult.
It's adult, and it kind of sounded like very good. So.
Was that all you got? Oh, where's your pen or your keychain or whatever that you got?
Oh, hang on.
What does it look like? Oh, it's just a book. Buy local books.
Yeah.
That was $18.
I didn't know.
Oh my god.
That was a mistake.
That
That was a mistake.
we have thoughts on this bookstore.
Yeah.
I'll let Suleika share her thoughts. You'll hear my thoughts when I do my bookstore adventure vlog. But tell them what you thought.
I
of
also
Friends
got
to
this
Lovers.
because it was cute and it had a duck.
You got that one
Yeah,
at
it's
the
a
Friends to Lovers too?
Yeah.
Or did you get that at the other one?
No, the friends.
That was a
too.
little bit cuter.
Yeah, it was expensive.
That one
too.
would be more $5.
$10. That was $10.
I think that'd be. What'd you think of Friends to Lovers?
We didn't get greeted and like pretty much were ignored the whole time that we were there. Like,
And we were only like the only 2 people in there for the longest time.
yeah, we were the only ones. And
Yeah.
I don't
What'd
know.
you think of the book selection though?
Book selection was okay. The
Yeah.
book selection was okay. There was a lot of boxes around, so like we had to maneuver a few times. It was super cute, super cute.
Yeah, we got some pictures in there.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
Did you get?
We didn't get a good
anything
buy.
at the other bookstore we went to?
only bookmarks,
Oh, we found another bookstore,
which was great.
which was great. It wasn't a romance only bookstore, but it was a
No.
bookstore. I'm not going to show you what I got at that bookstore, but what did you get?
I got bookmarks.
That's it?
Yeah,
Are
but
they all
these
the
ones
same?
were $10. There's 2 design. There's 2 each of 12 designs. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
so you got a whole pack of.
Yes.
How many are in there?
12.
12 bookmarks for $10. No, there's 24 bookmarks.
There is 24 bookmarks for $10.
24 for 10. The other bookstore was super cute.
And
I'll show you footage of that in my bookstore.
They were nice. They were helpful.
They were nice. They had a good selection. It was a much bigger bookstore than it looked.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah,
like it even had the other section
it had,
with the kids section.
3 sections of it, so it was cool.
It was good. That was a good bookstore.
That's what we did with our day. We just went to a couple bookstores.
And we still have one left.
And we're going, because we're going to one tonight. We're meeting Vanessa, read with Dr. B for dinner.
Yeah.
So, can't wait to meet her. So, I'm sure we'll buy more books. So, but we're going to go have dinner at a bookstore.
Yep.
So, now we're just taking a break, catching our breath before we gotta go. We're gonna hop back on the metro.
Yep.
To go to this place. We've just learned that we are metro girlies now. We're so proud of ourselves. Hi. Grace evening. Yeah, with food in her mouth, it's super attractive. Hello, I have returned home. And it turns out that the book that I picked, I can't remember which one it was actually like the second book in this series. So I read the first book, The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is a story about 2 people who knew each other when they were teenagers, and something happens that brings them back together in forced proximity, and they are like fighting their attraction for one another. And if I told you that was all this book was about, you would believe me, wouldn't you, based on this cover? Because this cover is giving very much like summer rom-com vibes. The blurb at the top here says, "I wanted to hate Luke Taylor. I did hate him. I just never hated him enough." Okay, so hate to love, right? Let me read you the synopsis on the back here. Dangerous, intoxicating, forbidden. Everything changed the moment I met him. He was my boyfriend's best friend and the bane of my existence. I wanted to hate him. I did hate him. I didn't hate him enough. Same thing that's on the front. Now, a decade later, tragedy has brought us back to the place where it all happened, my best times and my worst. Our lives have changed, but that pull between us is just as strong as ever. Only this time, it's more dangerous too. So that just gives you the vibes of like hate to love. Maybe there's something in their past that like was forbidden, obviously, because he's her boyfriend's best friend or whatever, right? Yeah, turns out this story is about 2 people who are now adults, and they are coming back because the pseudo like foster mom that took care of them for a couple summers is dying, and she's building this sort of foster house, and she wants them to be a part of its grand opening. And so we see them in the present as they are fighting this attraction to one another that was present when they were teenagers. And then we also get the past timeline where we are seeing them meet and the connection grow between them. And in the past, turns out this girl, Juliet, she is in this foster home with this like pastor and his family because her brother raped her, or her stepbrother raped her, sorry. Her stepbrother raped her and abused her, and her mother is just a bitch. Okay? And so we get not like super detailed about that, but we do see the toll that it has taken on her, and we do get descriptions of like what happened and what she was doing to like try and prevent him from raping her again and again. And there's a lot of talk in this book about the ramifications of someone being raped and how they see it as their fault. And then we get the male main character Luke's perspective, and we find out that he was in college when they met. He was coming home because the pastor family that she's living with, their son is her boyfriend. So she's pretty much living with her boyfriend's family. But we find out that he has been neglected, and he has lived a very tough life as well, because she notices that he is always starving. So he is on downtimes too. You don't really get that from this, do you? You don't really see this on this cover, that you were going to get in-depth knowledge of 2 characters' very tragic childhoods. It doesn't really come across in this like fluffy little cutesy cover, which is why I hate these stupid cartoon covers, because they're misleading. They really, really are. And the synopsis too. Like, I could forgive this if the synopsis on the back of here talked about something other than, oh, it's just like a hate to love scenario and forbidden. There's a lot of talk about rape in here. Just FYI. And I'm not somebody who typically needs triggers in my things because I'm not super triggered by things, but I hate it when I go into a story and this is just not giving that. This isn't giving what I should be getting in the story. It's like, if you're going to give me that, even if you're not going to give me trigger warnings, at least give me the illusion that this story is kind of like not super dark romance, but it's darker than this fluffy little contemporary rom-com image suggests, okay? So this book I gave 2 stars, okay? And it's not for the reasons of anything like trigger warning or anything like that. I'm giving this 2 stars because, once again, this is a fucking cheater story. What is it? What is it with this episode? Why do I keep getting stories about cheaters? And here's the thing. I don't care that the female main character was a teenager when this happened and she was stupid and she didn't know any better. I still don't fucking like cheaters, okay? I don't. And you're thinking, Becky, why didn't you DNF this book like you DNF'd the first cheater book you encountered? Well, because by the time I encountered the cheater thing in this, it was about 75% into it. And spoiler here, okay, spoiler. I knew the boyfriend was gonna die, and I wanted to know how he was gonna die. And so I kept reading to figure that out. Because quite frankly, I have never wanted a character to die so bad in my life. Like, I was like, give me details. Tell me how this stupid, whiny, little man-child, irritating boyfriend of hers dies. Because I want details. Because he pissed me off so much in this story. Like, Luke is not her boyfriend. Luke is her boyfriend's best friend. And he protects her and he stands up for her more than her stupid little whiny, super religious, oh, I'm gonna be the good boy and do everything right and blah, blah, blah. He was so fucking annoying. I was just like, please die. Please die. And I kind of got the sense that he was dead based on the language they used, but I wanted to know how. I'm like, I hope he dies in a very violent way because he's irritating the piss out of me. And then other characters in the story too, I'm like, can they die too? Because I have never read a book where I wanted so many of the characters to die because they just irritated the hell out of me so much. And by the time I got to the point where he died, I was like, I needed more detail. I wanted to see his grotesque body and I wanted to see him viscerally dismembered because he irritated me so damn much. I still hated the cheater trope in this thing, though. I really, really fucking did. Because the thing is, it's pretty much the same setup as the first book I read. What is it with these people who are attracted to their best friend's significant other? What's with that? Who does that? Who does that? She is such an unreliable character. She has so much trauma and so much self-hatred because of the rape and the abuse that she has suffered. Like, she's always thinking that things are her fault. And so I was thinking maybe she doesn't cheat on him. Maybe they like break up or something and she's still like emotionally attached to him. And so she sees having sex with his best friend as like cheating, but it's really not. No. She's starting to like dislike him severely within this story. You can tell that she's lost her love for this guy, and you can tell that she's irritated by him and she wants to get out of this relationship. But she is so... she's not stuck, she just feels guilt. She feels guilt because his family took her in and gave her a safe place to stay. And so she feels a lot of guilt toward that. And so she feels like she has to stay with him, even though she doesn't, and she wants out. And she's offered a way out of this relationship, but she just doesn't take it because she's young and stupid. But she does cheat on him. She's still in a relationship with him, and she knowingly goes and she knowingly acts on her feelings with his best friend. And his best friend too, okay? These people need to stop classifying themselves as best friends because, dude, if you are in love with your best friend's significant other upon meeting her and you are constantly hard around her and you're constantly fantasizing about her, he's not your fucking best friend, so stop claiming he's your best friend. Stop coming around and being in the same vicinity as her when she's with him. It's not gonna lead anywhere good. Why are you so stupid? Oh my God. So that just pissed me off. This book was just far too fucking angsty and dramatic for me. And then there's like a twist at the end where I was like, oh my God, seriously, really? we're doing this, okay. And I wanted to DNF this thing as soon as I found out the cheater thing, honestly, but I was 75% in and I still haven't figured out how the boyfriend died. So I kept reading, and about like 90% finally found that out, and I wanted to DNF it as soon as the plot twist hit because it was just so goddamn melodramatic. But I was like, you were so close, Becky. You were so close. So I pushed through it, y'all. I pushed through it. Why am I giving this 2 stars and not like 1 star? Well, I did appreciate like the discussion about rape and how people blame themselves for rape and things like that. There was a moment in this book where Juliet is handed a picture of herself when she is very young, like 14. And she had always blamed herself because like her brother placed the blame on her for him raping her. You know, it was the way she dressed, it was the makeup she wore, it was the way she danced. And when she's handed this picture of herself at 14, it was this realization for her of like, look at me, I'm a baby, I'm a child. This was not my fault. Nothing I did was my fault. And so I really appreciated seeing that shown in a story and showing how a character can finally come to that realization, because that is so, so real. Is you think when you're like 16, 17, 18, hell, even 19, 20, you think you're so adult and you're so grown and you're so mature, and these things happen to you and you think, oh, you know, I should have known better, blah, blah, blah. No. When you look back at yourself when you were that young, you are such a child. And especially when you're like 14, you are not a grown-up. You are not equipped to be put in the position of having to make those adult decisions. And it's just so fucking sad that that is a reality for so many people. So I liked seeing that brought up in this story. I also liked seeing their foster mom. She's not really their foster mom, but she's their pseudo-foster. I liked seeing her realization of just how she treated Juliet and the sort of mental manipulation and emotional manipulation that she was put under in their family. I liked seeing that growth. It came at, you know, the end of her life, but I liked seeing that she finally came to that realization and she didn't blame Juliet for the death of her son or anything like that. So there were some great character moments in the story, but my God, it was so fucking angsty and overdramatic for me. If you're somebody who likes your angst and your melodramatic and your soap opera type shit stories, here you go. You would probably really enjoy this story. But it was a lot. And I was like, why are you so stupid? Also, another thing that pissed me off is Juliet in the present time. She's an adult. And I can sort of give her leeway for making stupid decisions as a teenager, right? She doesn't know any better. But as a fucking adult, everything that she's gone through, why she continued to let people be part of her life and interact with her after the way they treated her boggled my fucking mind. I'm like, girl, why aren't you going to the police about you? Supposedly she's a famous singer. She's like really rich. I'm like, why are you not going to the police about these things that people are doing to you? Why are you protecting people who are hurting you when you're a fucking adult who has the power over them? I couldn't understand it. It drove me. Oh, another thing that pissed me off. Her being this famous singer, right? Null and void, moot point within this story, because she could have been a fucking billionaire CEO. She could have been a famous painter. She could have been any other rich. They could have just said she was fucking rich. Because her being a singer had absolutely no point to the story at all. You never see her actually be accosted by like paparazzi or, you know, writing songs or going to concerts or thinking about what her next stage of the process. You never see any of that. All you get is like this mention of her as a teenager who liked to sing and was good with singing and songwriting. And then she shows up again as an adult. Nope, she's famous and rich. I'm like, what the fuck? How did that happen? Okay. Anyway, 2 stars. I will be unhauling this. I do have the other 2 books in this series, and I really thought about just like binge reading them to get them off my shelf, but I think I'm going to keep them because this was a really quick read. Like, I read it in a good day. Like, it didn't take me any time at all to read. So I will keep the other 2 books because I feel like I'll get through them quickly. However, if I read the next book and it is just as angsty and over fucking dramatic with stupid characters in it, I will not finish book 3, okay? But I'm gonna keep them on my shelf for now. So, you'll notice this 4th shelf is completely full again. I went to a book convention and I bought books. So, we're up to 111 books again. We went from under 100 to 111. So, did I make any progress? I guess I've been reading books that have been on the shelf for a long time. But let me ask Alexa to pick me another number and see what I'm going to read next. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 111? There's a number between 1 and 111. It's 61. 61. All right. Well, this is 60 right here. So this is 61. And I know what book this is, and I honestly wouldn't mind reading it. But let me see what the tag says on it. It says A Coup of Tea. But the tag says 4 books back. So let me just see what the 4th book back is. 1, 2. Yeah, I don't want to read the 4th book back. So we're going to read A Coup of Tea, which is a book that I've actually been wanting to pick up and start. This is supposed to be a cozy fantasy. Maybe with some mystery in it. I don't know, but wish me luck on this one. Once again, I am not doing the best at giving you updates because I've already finished A Coup of Tea. This is a story of she's the 4th princess in line. Her name is Miara, and she abdicates her throne because she wants to go off and do her own thing. She doesn't want to give her life to her royal family or whatever. So she ends up in this little village where she meets these people who become like her found family, and she ends up getting a job at this tea shop where she wants to study to become a tea master. Someone who can perform these tea ceremonies and help the people, because tea is a very important part of their culture. And there she's just learning how to be an independent person because she knows absolutely nothing. She doesn't know how to count money. She doesn't know how to cook. She doesn't know how to clean. And so it's really a story of her finding herself and finding that she's capable of a lot more than just being a princess. And when she's at this little village, she ends up finding that a lot of the people in this village and in surrounding village are being taken advantage of, and they are being systemically oppressed. And so for a lot of this book, it's just a slice of life story of Miara learning how to be an independent person and finding friendships and things like that. It doesn't happen until 75% into this book that some action actually occurs, and you see her discovering and figuring things out about her kingdom. Not so much her family, but the people who run the kingdom, the advisors and things, of how they are repressing these people that she has grown to love. So I ended up giving this 3 stars. It was fine for cozy fantasy. I really liked the tea, and there's some dragons in here that are really cute. And I liked the found family, and I liked seeing Miara learn how to become an independent person. But for a lot of this book, it was just kind of boring. It's just a slice of life. And sometimes I can enjoy slice of lives if I'm connected with the characters, if I find them hilarious or heartwarming or something like that. And this just, I wasn't super connected to Miara. She didn't pull at my heartstrings or anything like that. It was just reading a story about a girl who's learning to become independent with herself. So that's pretty much my biggest complaint with this story, is that it was really boring for a lot of it. It wasn't until that 75% where she learns of the people's oppression and she's going on this journey to try and discover some things that it started picking up in action and wasn't so boring. So if you like cozy fantasy and you don't mind a slice of life story, you might really enjoy this. It definitely is cozy fantasy. I don't think I will be continuing on with the series though, just because I wasn't super connected with any of these characters, which is sad because look at this cute cover. I love this cover. This is another book that I was caught in by the cover. So this is one that I will be reaping, but I did finish it, and it was fine. It was just fine. So there are now 107 books on this shelf. I went through and I took off some books that I realized I wasn't ever going to be in the mood to read. I don't even know why I bought them, quite honestly. So we're down to 107. So let me ask Alexa to pick me a new book and see what I'm going to read next. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 107? 30. Okay. Oh. 30 is this book. It's the sequel. Let me see what this thing. Read the first book, it says. As in the first book in this series, which I don't actually own. So let me see if I can find like an audiobook for the first book in this series. And we will see. Let me get back to you on that and I'll decide if I'm going to read that or not. Alright, so I was able to find the audiobook for the first book in this series, which is called Hollow Kingdom. So I'm going to read that, and if I end up liking that book, then I will continue on with this one. If I don't end up liking the first book, then I will just DNF the series and get rid of this book. So we'll see what happens. Are you enjoying your day? Are you enjoying your time? What's out there? You see any books you like? Oh, let me give you an update, shall I? So I am about 30% into Hollow Kingdom, which is the first book in that book that I picked off my shelf. And I honestly had no idea what this series, duology, whatever it is, was about. I think I vaguely recalled that it was from animals' POVs. Aside from that, I had no freaking clue. So this first book is about a domesticated crow named Shitturd, ST for short. And he starts noticing that the man who has domesticated him is going crazy. He's like banging his head against the wall. He's foaming at the mouth. He's like running his fingers down to the nubs, and he's just not doing well. So he sets out to try and figure out what's going on with him. He tries to go to the Walgreens and like find whatever he can find to try and get him back to his normal self. But when he realizes he can't do that, he ends up having to leave his home to try and figure out what is going on and how he can help his human. But what he ends up finding out is that it's not just his human that has become like this. It is the entirety of humanity. Something has happened that has led to them becoming like these zombie-esque creatures that are de-evolving. And so he, along with his dog, whose name I can't remember, he's a bloodhound, but he ends up taking his dog that was also belonged to the man, and they set out to try and find out what is going on with humanity. And they end up coming across different creatures and seeing the different perspectives of the animal life that is still alive in this world. So this is very much a zombie story, but it is told from the perspective of the animals that are still alive, which I find really fascinating because I am somebody who really loves a book from an animal's perspective. I love seeing how humans imagine how an animal would think. It's just hilarious to me. There are some underlying like metaphors of identity. This crow doesn't see himself as a crow. He wants to be human. He identifies as a human. And so he gets very upset when the other birds and crows and animals think of him just as a crow. He's like, no, I was born to be a human. I'm just stuck in this crow body. So there's a lot to say about identity. There's some underlying messages of like people destroying Earth and the ecological effects that humanity has wrought on the world. And there's a lot to say about humans and their evolution and how if we don't evolve soon, we're going to be our own demise. So it does have a little bit of depth to it, but for the most part, there's really not much going on other than this crow just trying to survive with this dog, which is entertaining. I think this would be a great movie. Like if you could make it less horrific with like the humans eating themselves and stuff like that. This would be like almost like a Homeward Bound type situation. I think it would be a really great movie adaptation. But so far, I'm not hating it. It's an entertaining read, so I will give you my final thoughts once I finish this. And then we will see if I can continue to the second book or not. Okay, so I finished reading A Hollow Kingdom, and I actually really enjoyed this book. I'm gonna give it 4 stars, but it's a solid 4 stars. I liked everything that I had mentioned previously. The ending did get a little dragged out with what's happening, and there are certain creatures that are trying to become like the top species now, and so all the bird species band together to try and make a home for themselves amidst like these new species that are coming forth and trying to take over since humanity is de-evolving. I also did learn how humanity got to be this like zombie people type way, and it sort of got a little convoluted. It had a lot to do with like screen times, and you know, people lost their ability to connect with one another, and so their brains went mush and all this shit, and it just I was like, okay, really? Sure. I sort of liked the idea of how it was portrayed at the beginning of the story, where like humanity had reached a point where we had stopped evolving, and so we started de-evolving. I liked that concept a little bit more than, oh, the devices are making us zombies type thing. I also don't really know why this needed to be a duology, because I felt like the ending of this, it ended on a point where you as a reader could sort of imagine what would happen next. I don't really feel like we needed an added sequel to it to explore what happened at the end of this book. So that being said, I'm kind of waffling. I'm like, do I want to read the second book? Or am I good just reading this as, imagining it as a standalone? Because I did enjoy this story. I really liked some of the animal humor in here. There were a couple lines that really had me chuckling. But like, do I want to continue on? Because I felt like the end of this dragged out, and at the end of it I was like, okay, can we reach a point where this book ends? Like, I need a conclusion. So I don't know. I will come back with you and decide whether or not I'm going to read the second book, or if I'm going to pick a new book to read and get rid of the second book that I had. I feel like if I had owned the first book, I would gladly keep it because it was a very humorous story and I enjoyed my time with it. However, I got the second book as a gift, not having owned the first book or read the first book. So I'll give you an update once I make up my mind, because I haven't made up my mind yet. I literally just finished this book. And right now I am cleaning and reorganizing my bookshelves, and I am reorganizing it based on a genre again, how I like it. So I'm not doing a bookshelf reorganization video because I just don't have the willpower to do it. So this is the only thing you'll get of me reorganizing these shelves. But I will give you an update in the next clip of what my decision has been. Okay, decisions have been made. So I thought I would just read like a couple chapters of this to see, like, would it spark my desire to see where this story continues. And I read about 35 pages. I made it to chapter 4, and I don't think I'm going to read this one. I think I'm just going to imagine this duology as a standalone, because I liked where it ended in the first book. It left it with my imagination being able to play out how I think the story would go. And from the 4 chapters I read in this, it seems like it's pretty much the same idea of like finding oneself, embracing all of who you are instead of just the pieces of you, just from a new character's perspective. Now, we do still get ST's he's the one telling the story, but we sort of see the lessons that he learned through a new character. And I don't know, I don't think this needed to be a duology, quite honestly. I liked the first book and how it ended, so I'm not going to continue on with this one. So if I had owned the first book, I would have kept the first book, but since I don't, I will just be reaping this from my collection. But I still very much do recommend reading the first book because it was a really good story. It was really cute. It was really funny and all that. I really appreciated his derision for squirrels. Let's say. I laughed quite a few times at that. So there are now 106 books on this shelf, so let me ask Alexa to pick me a number to see what I will read next. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 106? 102, though. Oh, that's going to be a new book that I don't want to read right now, so let's hope it says something else. Oh, I don't even have 9 books next. Okay, so this one ended up being The Blue Roan Child, which is a book that I picked up recently, but the note on this says 9 books next, and quite honestly, I don't have 9 books next. I guess I could go to the end and then start at the beginning again. Let's do that. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, this one ended up being The Strange Adventures of H, which is a book that has been on my shelf for one of the longest periods of time. So even though it says go to the last shelf, 3rd book, I think I'm going to give this one a try and see what it's about. I can't really remember why this one appealed to me, why I picked it up. It's got little skulls on it. I think it takes place during the bubonic plague, maybe? Maybe that's what interested me about it. I don't know. But I've put this book off long enough. Let's give this a try and see what this one's about. Sunny out today, which is great. First time I've seen sun in a hot minute here. It's also humid. And I'm all for hiking, I'm all for walking, but I need a break every now and then, so I'm just sitting here in this little tree area. Pretty out here today. There's some icky water right there. The river is back there, though. Y'all, it's been a time. It has been a time. I just got out of the shower. It's been a day. I've been doing yard work all day, so I am plumb exhausted. I am also literarily exhausted. I'm DNFing this book too. God help me. So you know when I tell you why I bought books and I think they're because of this and that and whatever, well, this is kind of set in the bubonic plague, but it's not mainly what the story is about. So this is about a young girl. We see her grow up throughout the book. Like, she starts out as like a 11-year-old, I think, or a 7-year-old, something like that. But we see her grow up. Her name is H. That's literally her name. And she lives with her father, who is a pastor, and her, like, 4 sisters, I think. And something happens, her father dies, and she and one of her sisters are sent to live with her aunt in London. And so she gets a glimpse at this new lifestyle that she never knew she had. She's not treated as poorly. She's not expected to, like, clean the house and embroider socks and all this shit. And she's living a great life with her aunt until her cousin rapes her and she ends up pregnant. And that's about where I stopped. At about chapter 13, page 81. I made it right there. I don't know that there's anything particularly wrong with this book, okay? Other than the writing. The writing is very pompous. It's written in a very formal manner that almost reminds me of, like, if you're somebody who doesn't understand, like, lawyer jargon and speak, it kind of reminds me of that. Like, words are used that you really just don't need to be used. But I guess because it's like, I don't know what time period this is in, I forgot. But it's set in London, and so they're very proper and stuff. But the way the characters talk was just a little too hoity-toity for my liking. And for the strange adventures of H, so far, I would call this the boring and tragic adventures of H, because her life is pretty boring until she gets raped by her cousin. And so I went and I read, like, the synopsis of this book, because Lord knows I had forgotten about it. And it turns out that because she gets raped by her cousin and ends up pregnant, she is sort of banished from her family, and she has to become a whore in order to stay alive, to keep herself alive, pretty much. And some things happen, and at the beginning of the story, the first chapter is like there's this man being hanged for the murder of, like, I guess, other whores, and she says that she did it. So maybe this book gets more interesting along the way, but I just don't care to read it, because I feel like I could get through this book if the writing wasn't so egregiously pompous. Like, it's the writing, really, that is dragging me down. And I don't really like any of these characters. Like, I'm not invested in this fucking story. Which is probably, you know, this book has been sitting on my shelf since, like, 2022. I think the only reason that I got it is because I was looking for books set during the bubonic plague or whatnot, and this came up in a search. Like, I knew nothing of this. And it's just been sitting there because I haven't really been wanting to read it. And quite honestly, I just don't want to read this anymore. So there's maybe nothing wrong with this book. I'm sure it could be fine. It's just the characters aren't compelling and I hate the writing. So, oh my god, I'm so tired of this episode. I'm tired of filming clips. I'm tired of DNFing books. I'm just tired. But I'm going to give it one more go, okay? I'm going to pick one more book. And hopefully this last book will be a winner. So there are now 105 books on the shelf. So let me ask Alexa to pick me a new book. Alexa, can you pick me a number between 1 and 105? 72. Okay. Please be short and sweet. Alright, I just got this book, so I think the tag is going to tell me to go somewhere else. Yeah. It is The Heir's Bargain, which is a book I just picked up at the book convention I went to. And the note on this says, first shelf, 10th book. So, let me go to the first shelf, 10th book. And see if that's a book that I want to read. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh. Ooh. This is a chunky book. Oh, thank God. It is The Witch's Witch. I wouldn't mind reading because I am about to go to Salem pretty soon. But it's so thick. It's so thick. I don't want to read it. And luckily, this one says 2 books directly below. So let me go back to the third shelf where I just was. And go to the 10th book on this shelf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, this is a middle grade book. And It says next book, but because it's the third time around the shelf, I'm going to read this one. It's Foxheart. And it's a middle grade. And the writing's big. So please, for all that is holy, let me like this book, please. It's got a cute cover, and I think it's about a witch. So let's hope that this will be a winner for me, okay? I'll be back. Foxheart. This is a middle grade story about an orphan girl named Quicksilver. That's just the name she gives herself. She is a thief, and so she runs away from this orphanage, and she is just thieving her way through this kingdom with the help of her dog named Fox, which got hella confusing for me. And she ends up meeting this boy who is also on hard times. He's not an orphan, so he allows her to stay with him and his family in their very small home to get out of the elements and stuff like that. And so they start this adventure together. They're just thieving around until they come across this old woman and her dog. And this old woman is a witch. And she has come from the future to try and win this war with this guy named the Wolf King so that he doesn't eradicate witches. And she and Quicksilver are connected somehow. And so she is telling Quicksilver that she is using the last dregs of her magic to come back in time to try and find her so that she can potentially save from the outcome that the future she's living in. And it's their adventure. They have to go around, they have to collect these sort of totem skeletons of different things and find a witch, find all these witches and build a coven to overthrow this Wolf King. So you would think that that would all sound very appealing to me, right? And I was hoping that this would end out this episode on a good note. Unfortunately for me, this is the episode that's you know what, your last episode you loved all the books, so this episode we're gonna make you read all the books that suck. I gave this 2 stars. My biggest problem with this is it was very boring for 70% of this book. Things were happening, but they weren't very exciting things, and the way that they were described and told to me weren't very exciting. I didn't feel a strong connection for any of these characters at all. And I just wasn't invested with these characters. I will say I did like the monster familiars that are in here. They're animals, they're not monsters, but instead of calling them familiars, that's what they call them. They call them monsters. So real witches have monsters. And they are these animals that amplify the powers that they have. So I liked that. I also liked the time travel element of this old woman who's a witch coming back and finding somebody who she's connected to. I won't tell you how in case you or your kids want to read this or something. But they are connected, and so I liked that time travel element within the story as well. But those are really the only 2 things that I liked about this book. I thought maybe it would be a low 3-star because there's nothing wrong with this book, really. The writing is fine. The plot is fine. I don't feel like it was paced very well. There were big chunks that were super boring, and then something exciting would happen, and then there would be more chunks that were just super boring. So that dragged the story down. Also, the names of these characters really were off-putting for me because her name is Quicksilver. The dog's name is Fox. The boy she ends up thieving with, his name is Sly Boots, I think. What is with these names? Can you not have normal names? I will say I did like her nickname. People started calling her Quicks, and I thought that was really cute. But it just, I don't know. There wasn't anything super wow about this story, and there wasn't anything super captivating about this story. Which is a shame because, once again, look at this cute cover, and it was witchy. So, I finished it. Barely, there were times I thought about DNFing this book, y'all. I really did, but I was like, no, Becky, you are not DNFing one more damn book in this episode. But did it make a bit of difference? Absolutely not. So I'm done. I am done with this Read or Reap episode. I am done reading books off this shelf for the month because I cannot take another shitty book. But let me just do a recap of all of the books that I managed to read for this episode. I tried to read When You Are Mine and DNF'd this, will be reaping. I tried to read When We Were Birds, DNF'd this, will be reaping. I did read A Rush of Wings, which got 5 stars, the highest rated book in this episode, will be keeping. I read A Coup of Tea, which I gave 3 stars, I will be reaping. I read The Summer We Fell, which got 2 stars, I will be reaping. I tried to read The Strange Adventures of H and DNF'd this, I will be reaping. I read in place of this book, the first book, Hollow Kingdom, which I actually gave 4 stars, and if I owned the first book, I would keep it, but since I only own the second book and I didn't feel the need to continue on with the story, I will be reaping this one from my collection as well. And then I read Foxheart, which I gave 2 stars and will be reaping. And on top of that, I did actually manage to read a couple more books outside of this episode, got them off my shelf. I will talk about those in my wrap-up, but they were Captivating, which I will be keeping, and A Court of Honey and Ash, which I will be reaping. So that's a visual representation of all the books I got off my shelf this month. I feel like it was a lot. I got a lot off my shelves. I also took some books off my shelf that I didn't even attempt to read that I just didn't think I was ever going to read. So I got a lot cleared off my shelf this month. And I also added some books because of the book convention I went to. So in the sense of getting books off the shelf, it was a productive month. And in regards to like the quality of the books I read, not so much a successful month. Not at all, not at all. There were a lot of duds. So I am ending this episode of Read or Reap with 104 books on my shelf. I will be reading books off my shelf next month. I just won't be doing a Read or Reap episode. That will come again in August probably. So who knows how many books I will start the next episode of Read or Reap with. But let's hope it's doesn't get any larger, shall we? Okay. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments, have you read any of these books? Will you be adding any of these books to your TBRs, etc.? But if you don't want to comment that, but would like to let me know you made it to the end of what I'm sure is going to be a very long episode, could you leave me a swan emoji? Because that was probably the highest rated book that I read in this episode, was A Rush of Wings. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, good luck on getting your TBR shelf numbers down. Bye!